why is it such a huge benefit for the cell to be able to ingest something else to make its energy for it on the inside? What are some of the things that like become possible now that you have a mitochondrion versus before when you didn't? Assuming you could make your own stuff without the mitochondria.
It requires less energy, perhaps, in order to do so.
So they assume that they have like the same electron transport chain, both in their membrane, you know, because these are basically like the same cell. One's just a little bigger than the other one,
right,
so that it can eat it, right? But they just assume right now we haven't yet diverged along the evolutionary timeline to where the mitochondrion is specialized in. And yes, it is, current mitochondria are more efficient than prokaryotes are because they don't have to worry about anything else. You know, like they don't even have, they don't have to do anything but energy. The cell takes care of everything else. But back then, you know, at the very beginning when this thing first happened, see, I drew the sequence of events happening here. When this first happened, that cell that has this mitochondrion inside of it now has a distinct advantage over other cells. What would that be? Like what was, and there's several of them, but there's one like big one.
Several advantage over other cells. Aerobic versus anaerobic.
They were all doing aerobic respiration before though, right? Because they were all using an electron transport chain. So the big advantage here is that prior to ingestion of something to sit intracellularly and make energy from the inside, you had to have membrane to make energy. And so as the cell got bigger and bigger, your surface area to volume ratio shrunk, right? Because your surface area is increasing as the cell gets bigger, but not as rapidly as your volume is. And so there is some upper limit of size that a prokaryote can be, because if it gets bigger than that, it doesn't have enough membrane to make the energy necessary for the cell to do its other stuff.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
But now that you have something inside that's able to divide on its own, right, and fill that volume, then your size, then your volume and energy productive capacities are now directly correlated. Whereas before, volume would increase and energy production capacity was correlated with surface area rather than volume. Now it's correlated with volume because we got something that can expand in 3 dimensions on the inside and make energy. So that's why eukaryotic cells are way, way, way bigger than prokaryotic cells. Because of that specifically. Okay. Yeah. And so that's like the first example of real specialization.